Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett, August 30, 1930, is a businessman and the most famous American investor on the New York Stock Exchange, chairman of the Berkshire Hathaway Company, and is the third richest person in the world for the year 2014 according to the American Forbes magazine, with a wealth of $65.6 billion, one after he was the richest man in the world for the year 2008. With a fortune of $40 billion United States dollars. Here are some of Buffett's tips and strategies for investing and building wealth, drawn from many sources, whether his media encounters, his annual message to his company's shareholders, or those close to him, sailing through the arcades of this shrewd mindset. Tips you may not have heard about before. Unlike famous about it, we will not tell you his famous saying in spending. For example, if you buy what you do not need, the time will come for you when you have to sell what you need. Or his famous phrase in saving, do not save what remains after spending, but spend what remains after saving. Or his remarkable wisdom about the dangers, not to test the depth of the river with both feet, but rather we address certain aspects of the personality of the successful investor. 1. Learn to save. Buffett says, I think the greatest mistake is not savings habits correctly early on. Savings usually have to be acquired. He explains that if a person has the ability to live on a lower level than he is now, it can make the first $1 million very easily. 2. It can take up to 20 years to build a reputation, and demolishing it will only take 5 minutes. If you keep this in mind, inevitably, you will do things differently. Gaining the trust of people is an invaluable asset. 3. It is better to spend time with people who are better than you, since selecting partners who have better behaviors will reflect their good behavior on you. 4. A long time ago, Ben Graham taught me that the price is what you pay, but the value is what you get, whether we are talking about socks or stocks, so buy quality goods when their prices drop. 5. Successful investment requires time, discipline and patience. No matter how great talent or effort is, there are some things that take time, that you cannot produce a baby in a month by getting 9 pregnant women. 6. Opportunities come rare, so when the world rains gold, put a bucket, not thimble. Thimble is the funnel that covers the tip of a tailor's finger to protect it from pricking needles. The intention is to take advantage of opportunities whenever the best possible use comes. 7. Diversification of investments is originally a protection against ignorance related to these investments, so it makes sense that this diversity is little for those who know what they are doing. 8. The key to investing is not to assess the extent of the influence of this industry or product on society, or to what extent it will grow, but rather to determine the competitive advantage of any particular company and, above all, determine the durability of this competitive advantage. 9. It is much better to buy a great company at a reasonable price than to buy a good company at a great price. 10. Warren Buffett says, I will tell you how to be rich, be afraid when others are greedy, and be greedy when others are afraid. Buffett from this argument means that the key to investing is to buy while prices fall, and to sell when they go up. When prices drop, everyone refrains from buying, fear of further decline, then you have to buy. When prices rise, everyone stops selling. To make more gains, thinking they will continue to rise, then you have to sell. 11. The difference between successful and really successful people is that people who are really successful say no to almost everything. Buffett, by saying this, means that success requires intense focus. There are many people who have long to-do lists and work to be more productive, while in fact, owning a not-do list is more important if he wants to. The person can do great things. 12. Learn from people's failures more than their successes. Buffett believes that people have more lessons than their successes, so these lessons should be well understood. She is the biggest teacher. 13. Reinvesting profits. Warren Buffett learned this strategy early. In high school, he and his fellow bought a pinball machine, to put it in a barber shop. And with the money that they earned from them, they bought many of these games. Until they reached 8, they were spread in various shops. When they sold the project, he used his returns to buy shares and start other small businesses. At the age of 26, he raised $174,000, equivalent to today $1.4 million. What is meant is that even if the amount is small, it can turn into a large fortune. 14. Explain everything related to the deal or business before it begins. Buffett explains that your negotiating power or the amount of influence you have on bargaining is always greater before you start working, and this is when you have something to offer the other side. Buffett learned this lesson harshly, as a child, where his grandfather, Ernst, employed him and another friend to remove the snow that was covering his grocery store, after a snowstorm hit the place, and Buffett and his friend continued to sweep the snow for 5 hours continuously, until their hands almost froze. Then his grandfather gave them 90 just cents to share. Buffett was then shocked. How did he do all the hard work in exchange for this meager wage? From this point on, Buffett was tightening all deals by clarifying all their details before starting them with everyone, including friends and relatives. 15. Investing in companies and institutions that pay attention to small details. Warren Buffett invests in companies managed by managers who scrutinize the smallest costs, such as the company that calculates the number of toilet rolls, and makes sure that it is actually 500 sheets, to find out whether she was deceived or not. 16. Reducing borrowing. Live on credit cards and loans will not make you rich. Warren Buffett never borrowed much. He receives many heartbreaking messages from people who believed that borrowing was manageable, but that they had become overwhelmed with debt. His advice to these people was, negotiate with creditors to pay what you can, then when you are debt-free, work to save some money that you can use to invest. 17. Be persistent. With perseverance and creativity, you can beat a more established competitor. Buffett acquired the company, Nebraska Furniture Mart, in 1983, for his love and admiration for the way her organization, Rose Blumkin, runs its business. Rose Blumkin, a Russian immigrant who initially built this company with a loan from her brother in the amount of $500, and the money saved from sale of used clothes, to become the largest furniture store in North America, where its strategy was to sell products at prices much lower than competitors, so that its major competitors agreed with manufacturers to prevent their supply, so it contracted with manufacturers outside the state, and continued to sell their products less than their competitors as they were, and she is a ruthless bargaining, says Buffett. It embodies the unwavering courage, which makes the underdog a winner, and Buffett always beats Mrs. Rose's style of management. 18. I know well when to stop. When Buffett was a teenager, he went to the racetrack, and then he wagered on a race, but he lost, and in order to make up for his loss he bet on another race, and lost again, to return empty-handed. Then Buffett felt very tired from what event, he lost nearly a full week's earnings. Buffett never repeated this error. Where it is advised that you should know well when to get away, or give up losing, and do not allow anxiety to trick you into trying again. 19. Never lose money. Warren Buffett's advice No. 1, which he follows as much as he can, never lose money, and rule No. 2 is, don't forget rule No. 1 inch. 20. Invest in yourself. Buffett says, invest yourself as much as possible when you can, you are your biggest asset so far. He also says, anything that you invest in yourself will be 10 times the return to you. And unlike other assets and investments, your own assets, which are yourself, nobody can reserve for tax, for example, or steal from you. 21. Learn about money. Part of investing in yourself should be learning more about managing money. As an investor, Warren Buffett emphasizes that a large part of his job is to reduce exposure and reduce risk, and that the risk always comes from those who don't know what to do. 22. Stay away from Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a virtual currency encoded by an unknown person, which can be compared to other currencies such as the dollar and the euro, with several basic differences, including, it is a fully electronic currency that is traded online only, without a physical presence for it, and does not have a specific regulatory body. Buffett does not believe in Bitcoin, because it has no real value. Stay out of Bitcoin, he says. Because it's actually a mirage, it's an effective way to transfer large amounts of money, and it also allows you to remain anonymous, but the bill transfers money as well. The idea that Bitcoin has real great value is, in my opinion, just a joke. Quote,